How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final fight. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
Can we grow up a little bit and
Alt
not
Girl
be
sent $200.
retarded?
Have you
Please.
seen the work of Karlyn Borysenko? Anti-commie cult leader and is obsessed with looking at what actual far-left communists are talking about and organizing today, infiltrating them. They infiltrated the universities, schools, media. She has the receipts to back it up. Primary source evidence. Infestation is dire and she calls Republicans idiots eating slop. Agree.
Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, I know Karlyn B. She's solid. She's funny. I
The
like
great
her.
noticer sent 200.
Literally.
So
Not
it's,
Ian.
it's not because
Yeah.
I haven't dangled my junk into the combat zone on purpose to get some camera footage, but that's the big part of what's the
Is that
problem.
what you call reporters?
Go
and live
under, if
streaming?
you're going to do it,
Yeah,
go
seriously.
undercover. Otherwise, you're wearing a hunk of meat in a lion's den. Nick Shirley, I love you. Take care of yourself, man. Karlyn Borysenko went undercover. Do stuff like that. Like if you want to expose this thing, don't pariah, please.
But Ian, here's and I agree with you to an extent.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Spy Stream. Welcome to Spy Stream. Is this anyone's first time at Spy Stream? One in the chat if this is your first time at Spy Stream. Spy Stream is when we go inside a live leftist trading and we watch it live. And tonight we are doing a rare public Spy Stream. And, you know, maybe our friend Stacy will show up because it will be a public chat on the internet. And, you know, one of the reasons I'm not afraid to do this spy stream publicly is that they are literally streaming their organizing call to YouTube. So no matter how much Stacy whines, no matter how much Stacy complains, it's not my fault they're streaming their organizing call to YouTube, Stacy. It's not my fault they're making their organizing call public for the world. Public means public. If it's on YouTube, we can watch it, and there ain't shit you can do about it. So too bad, so sad. Too bad, so sad, Stacy. We'll keep an eye in the chat to see if Stacy shows up. Now, I do want to tell people, just because this is live on YouTube, I do not want anyone over in their chat causing problems, okay? I completely disavow that. We do not cause problems when we are doing Spy Stream. Please do not ruin this for everyone. Do not raid their chat. Do not shitpost in their chat. Do not do your owning the lib bullshit in the chat. Say everything you want to say over here. We do not go over to other people's chats and disrupt their trainings. We don't do that shit. If I see you doing it over there, I will ban you over here. I completely disavow all of it. This is about studying and researching and listening. And every single time people go over there to cause problems, we lose the high road in what we are doing. So none of the bullshit. Say what you want to say over here. Don't fucking ruin it for everyone. If you cause problems over there, I will permanently ban you over here. There will be no fucking second chances. You will be permanently excommunicated, deported from the fucking community. I will not have that happen in my name. Okay? Are you guys cool with that? All right. All right. All right. Welcome, Peggy, to the channel. Thank you, Peggy, for becoming a member of the YouTube channel. Welcome to the cult. You know, your life is over. You're never going to see the world the same way again. And, you know, but you'll have friends during the Marxist Revolution, and that's cool. W's in the chat to Chitalago, donating a channel membership. Guys, those 2 memberships brings us up to 137 new members of the day. Now, guys, if you appreciate my work exposing the far left and showing you inside their organizing calls and breaking down the language and doing all the free content that I do to help educate people about what the real far left is doing, please feel free to support that work. I am 100% independently funded by people like you. I have no political donors. I do not work for any political organizations. I take no political money. I will never try to sell you a narrative that I am paid to sell you. My only job is to literally show up and to show you what's going on and to break down the language and help you understand it so that you can decide for yourself what you think about it. The only way this works is if people fund the work I do. We do that through super chats. We do that through channel memberships. We also do it by heading over to my Substack, which is Karlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com, signing up for a membership of $8 a month, $80 a year. All of these things help keep me in business, and I really do appreciate it. OC says, you know, one day I'm going to get a Substack, right? I'm brand new to it and I keep messing it up, but I think I finally got it. You know, Substack, I really think is one of the best platforms on the internet. I love Substack. I wish more people would get onto Substack. It is my primary content hub. Of course, we do the streaming and stuff like that, but if you want clips, if you want articles, if you want archives of my work, breaking down the leftist mindset and all that stuff, that is all over on Substack. Now, the vast majority of my content is free for everyone. The vast majority of it, not all of it, but something like over 90% of my content is free for everyone. There is some of my content that is behind a paywall because it has to be for reason X, Y, B, and Z. That's just the way the internet works. But if you haven't yet subscribed to my Substack, I definitely encourage you to do it for free. If you are new to my work, go to the new to my work start here section and watch this training. It's starting. Okay, bot's saying it's starting. We have to get over to the women's thing. Okay,
give you
we're
the
back.
rules for the road tonight, and she is going to be your host. So thank you for joining us. And we're going to take a couple minutes to let you all filter.
Guys, can someone please keep an eye on the chat and let us know if Stacy shows up? I would appreciate that. I'm going to turn the chat off on the stream.
Hi, everyone. We're going to let everyone get settled here. And in the chat, let us know where you're coming from. I am usually coming in hot from Amarillo, Texas. Amarillo by morning. But today I am coming into you from Albuquerque, New Mexico, because we are just days away from our event. So while everyone is kind of filtering in, you know, just say hi, where you're joining from, how you're taking action for International Women's Day. I want to just name that captions are available on Facebook. Not all platforms provide the same type of support. So just keep an eye on Facebook. If you are somebody that likes captions, I watch all my TV with captions. It helps me to track things and remember things. So yeah, just let me know if, you know, I'll try to remember this to remind folks who join later. But if y'all see it in the chat, somebody looking for captions, if y'all could help me out and guide them to Facebook, that would be great. Community norms. I am big on us practicing building the kind of movement that we want to be in. That means that the ban hammer is strong around here. So if you are here, if you are harassing folks, if you are
we don't do that,
spamming, you know, the chat with a bunch of things, we understand that folks think that, there are pieces of information that we're trying to get through. And we're also making sure that this is a good experience for everybody. So trolls, spammers will be banned. People who say insulting things will be banned. People who say that the man in charge should show up will be banned. So all of the different things, do not say we did not warn you. We are curating the kind of space that we want to live in the world. And that is what is happening. So we want, again, to have the norm of being the community that you want to build. So the chat, you're going to see moves very fast. So we'll get your questions going in the chat. We'll answer as many as we can, but make sure to put it in the Q&A, because otherwise it just comes and goes so fast that we can't catch it. And so as a reminder, in addition to all of that housekeeping, as a reminder, we're here to talk about International Women's Day this weekend and what we are doing to meet the moment, which is fraught with different issues related to war, related to ICE, related to the lack of accountability for the Epstein survivors, related to the overall misogyny of it all. And so that's why here, that's why us, that's why now. And it's really important for us all to be, kind of aligned on these pieces and making sure that we're clear on both what the problem is so that we can all be a part of the solution. And I would also just like to say that there's no, we don't have to be a superhero or be the person that provides the solution. Over a history of movements, and certainly over movements that have dealt with gender liberation or women's rights or feminism, it's all about contributions and the ways that contributions aggregate into larger good. So all of that said, I will hop into International Women's Day information. So International Women's Day, for folks who don't know, is an international, it's literally in the name. It is a day that is celebrated internationally. Some are celebrations, most are protests, related to the state of women in the world. And as we know, both in the United States and abroad, the state of women has been under attack. And we know that that is very common in rise of authoritarian governments, which we have also seen in the last few years. And I guess not few, but in the last decade or plus. And we know that when authoritarianism rises, feminism necessarily goes down. In Project 2025, they say this explicitly, that in order for their project to be successful, feminism has to, kind of go the way of the dodo and be replaced by femininity. And so some of the trolls that will block here today will say things in order to police us back towards femininity and away from feminism. And of course, that will catch them a block right now. So International Women's Day is March 8th. You probably know that because you signed up for this call. You're trying to learn more. And this year we are doing things a little differently. So rather than being in a kind of a posture of celebration, we are taking a posture of action. The stakes are raised, and so our tactics must meet that moment. And what we want to do right now is to help people find community, to help people bear witness, and to talk about and really live into the experience of bearing witness as a group, and particularly as a group of women and feminists and allies, and to think about how the actions that we take and the contributions that we make aggregate into the totality of the movement we're trying to build. And so that means in a call like today, but it also means like actions like this weekend. And so that's what we're building, a movement where we live our values.
By the way, the people spamming my name in their chat are probably conservative retards that are trying to destroy my work. That's fine. Let them. I very clearly said, don't fucking do that shit.
Non-compliance strategies, go bird dog your legislator, especially those who voted the wrong way on war powers today. Stage a sit-in, and I'll be real, like any of this stuff, I'm like a gym girly, right? And so like I know that there are things that I could do today that I couldn't do a year ago because I practice them every day. And so direct action is a muscle. And in order for it to get stronger and for it to be more powerful, we have to build it up. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to dig into a couple of different areas. And for me, this International Women's Day,
so there's a conservative retard that I banned that is causing problems over in their chat because he's a conservative retard that got banned in my chat. So guys, this is why we have to do spy streams behind a paywall sometimes, because I have so many conservative retards that literally try to destroy things for every single fucking person because they're pissed off that they're not smart enough to follow this content. It sucks. It is what it is. But this is why I say do not go over and engage in their chat. Just stay here.
Sending federal troops into cities across the country is also an example of that lack of consent. And so we're here today to get a lay of the land. What does it mean? Like, why are these three things hanging together? How does, feminism, what does feminism have to do with anti-militarism? So we're going to bring that all together, and then we're going to talk a little bit about this weekend, and that's what's on deck. So again, any questions, Q&A them so that we don't lose them. And then we're going to move ahead to our presenters on the day here today. And I'm going to move on ahead and introduce our first speaker, who is Negar Mortazavi. I was like, I'm not going to pronounce that wrong, and then I stumbled anyway. Negar is an award-winning journalist and commentator, editor, and host of the Iran podcast, and senior fellow of the Center for International Policy based in Washington, D.C. She's been covering Iranian and Middle Eastern affairs, as well as U.S. foreign policy towards the Middle East for over a decade. So welcome to Negar. Let's see. There we go. I was like, what happens on the tech side now?
Wait. Her name is Negar? Negar. Her name is Negar.
I'm not sure if you can see me, hear me.
No fucking way.
There we go.
Okay.
Sorry. We have some tech newbies here, so everyone's gonna have to buckle up as we're working all of that out. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, perfect.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you've spoken to Women's March other times, but thank you so much for having us back, and especially at this time when everything is both so heightened, but also kind of hard to understand and follow.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you so much for that introduction and for having me, and for the important work that you do. It's an honor to be back with the Women's March on this special occasion. I wish it was under better circumstances and not with the backdrop of a war, but I'm happy to talk about it or answer questions, however you want the event to go.
I mean, I think one of the first things that I see, or the things that I notice inside of our social media, is people saying, yes, but Iranian women have been fighting the dictatorship. So why are Western feminists against the dictatorship being toppled? That seems confusing to me. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about that kind of tension and the complexity of the nuance there.
Absolutely. So I think sometimes these issues are being discussed really, as I was thinking about it the other day, in video games terms, as if they're playing Minecraft or have created this alternate reality. Because first of all, the regime has not been toppled. Yes, the supreme leader was assassinated. There was a decapitation of the top person, the top brass, some senior leadership, but very quickly they regroup. They have a leadership council. The army, the Revolutionary Guard, is fighting back. Yes, they're the underdog in this fight, but it's also, we're talking about a nation state. We're talking about a government that's very repressive. I will say that, very repressive, and I can talk forever about how they've treated their own citizens. The sort of iron fist crackdown of almost every round of protests, mass protests against the government that we've seen. But at the same time, it also has very powerful institutions, not necessarily all democratic institutions, but powerful institutions. And it's not that easy. And then on top of that, the question is this really helping? I mean, is this helping the situation of the people on the ground? It's very easy to hold both truths at the same time, that you don't support the repression, the violent crackdown, the iron fist approach towards protesters, be it with an economic spark like last January, or the Women Life Freedom movement in 2022, essentially a feminist uprising with women and girls leading it. which I think delivered a cultural revolution to the country. But is bombing from the sky going to help the situation or hurt? So I think the first question is, or the first issue, the way of looking at it is do no harm. Just because it's framed as help, because help is on the way in a Truth Social post, doesn't mean that this is helping. And if we want to look at not ancient history, but very recent history, past precedent of US intervention or US help in that region with the promise of democracy, nation building, if you all remember in Afghanistan, even women's rights was one of the promises, better governance. Military intervention from the outside delivered none of that. Not to Afghanistan. Iran is a country exactly situated between Afghanistan and Iraq. It didn't deliver to Iraq. Syria, 10 years of civil war, Libya. I mean, all of these countries, the civil war, the chaos, the ensuing terrorism, insurgency, the instability, wasn't even bound to those countries. It spills over into the entire region, and that's why they're considered failed wars. And I think the irony here, you were speaking about the president, is that the president who calls himself the president of peace constantly says that he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for ending war, has criticized past presidents for launching quote unquote stupid wars, silly wars, endless wars. He's actually had very good comments in critique of those wars when he wasn't the commander in chief of the Bush administration, the invasion of Iraq, invasion of Afghanistan. And I would argue he won 2 times in elections because, or in large part due to the fact that he ran on campaigns against these wars. He even criticized President Obama. I was looking at his tweets the other day. Multiple times he criticized Barack Obama for thinking or threatening or potentially planning to attack Iran, which he never did. President Obama never did. And then he became the president who actually did this. And I would wrap with this saying, this is the 3rd time. This is not the first time. First was in January 2020 when he ordered the assassination of the top Iranian general. From the Iranian viewpoint, that was a declaration of war. And the Iranians essentially offered an off-ramp with a restrained and sort of calibrated response with no US casualty. The second time was last June when he joined the Israelis in their attack on Iran with Operation Midnight Hammer, which then was described as obliterating Iran's nuclear program. And then this is the 3rd time. Comes the regime change war. I mean, depending on who you listen to in the administration and in which day, the reasoning changes, the goalpost has changed. I don't think there's a plan. I don't even think there's an understanding of what they're getting into, of what the other side is thinking or planning to do. But they've just launched a very, I think, catastrophic regional war that we've seen already before the first week has taken over 1,000 civilian lives on the Iranian side. And I just want to also add this. I wanted to open with this, and I just remembered. On this war started on a Saturday morning in a small town in southern Iran called Mina at an all-girls elementary school with 2 attacks, at least 2 strikes that came to that school and killed 175 people, most of them children, school children, girls. So talk about women life freedom. Attacking an all-girls elementary school in that city, and this is on day 1. This is even before the news of the assassination of the supreme leader came. So I don't know how that happened. They've been talking about investigating. We don't even know if it was the US or the Israelis. But this is the civilian toll of war. This is the cost of war, the very real, ugly face of war that impacts civilians, that harms civilians, marginalized communities, women, and in this case, girls.
Mm-hmm. And that, for me, that tracks so much when I read that. And that was the first thing I thought was that, one of the talking points that I've seen Trump on, and also I actually went and looked related to the strikes last year. Yeah, there's actually like a web page on the White House page, and it's like nukes totally obliterated. It is an embarrassing post to read, but also if it were true, then it would necessitate, this intervention would have been completely, by their own logic, unnecessary. So it's kind of like, I think one of the worst battlegrounds of fascism is the assault on truth, the assault on reality, the assault on us to be able to just look with our eyes and see a thing, because there's always someone saying you didn't see what you saw. And for me, what you just talked about is like, I really want to lift that up, because you cannot say that you're somehow entering a war for humanitarian reasons in order to support the people and women particularly who are rising up in Iran, and then do so by striking and killing hundreds of girls, in the same way that you can't protect American women, how they said they're protecting American women in sports, and then evade accountability in the Epstein files. So this is also a very, I guess it's a playbook that they have, and it's a play that they run over and over again, by using women both as the justification for these crimes, but then also as the, kind of the soft face of power that's executing them through their spokespeople and the heads of different, agencies that are carrying these out.
Yeah, and I heard you talk about consent. If I can just add a few more comparisons, I don't know how many of you remember. I was a young college student reporter at a college newspaper back in 2002, before the invasion of Iraq. And I remember those days. I mean, back then, and those wars turned out to be failures that now everyone agrees with. But at least they went to the US Congress. At least they had the support of the majority of the American people. This is post 9/11 for both Afghanistan and Iraq. In Afghanistan, if you look at US Congress, there was a single vote, Barbara Lee, who voted no to that war. Many of the current anti-war voices used to be supportive of those wars because they hadn't, I guess, experienced these failures. They went to the UN Security Council with a lie that was the weapons of mass destruction. If you'll remember that scene with Colin Powell, but at least they did. They got the NATO involved. They had their international allies involved. This time, none of that. No involvement from the US Congress, no consent from the international community. You have UN officials from the top all the way to the special rapporteur who works on the human rights situation in Iran, basically tracking the human rights abuses of the Iranian government, is her mandate, having to say this is unlawful according to international law and we can't pick and choose. And the American people, poll after poll, as recent as I believe this week, shows that the majority of Americans are against this war because they have experience of these failed wars in the past, US blood and treasure being wasted, trillion-dollar wars. I mean, if you just go and listen to the past comments, like I said, many good comments of this president on why those wars were wrong, there's no consent. I was actually on NPR the other day for a full hour, and they took calls from US audiences across the United States, and the audience was just so knowledgeable, and the main question I kept hearing from the listeners was why? Why? They had military families called, veteran, someone who was comparing it to Vietnam, saying this is Vietnam all over again, Iraq all over again, Afghanistan all over again. So in a way, it's that all over again, but even worse. Yeah. And I would say the only thing that I see that I can compare sort of playing, the only institution playing a similar role, unfortunately, is the mainstream media. The mainstream legacy media that very much, I don't want to name names, not every single outlet, but very much playing that sort of manufacturing consent for war role that they did play in the lead up to Afghanistan and especially Iraq, running with the lie that there was the weapons of mass destruction and or showing, this consent from the Iranian public. That's another line and narrative that we see, that Iranians are all happy, they're welcoming this, which is absolutely not true. Some may be, some are, especially in the diaspora. But inside the country, there's a variety of voices, very diverse, and certainly the majority being bombed from the sky in the name of freedom.
They're not all happy.
I think that's the point.
You don't say.
That, I mean, there are, and getting back to even what happened with Venezuela, there are conversations that international bodies can have. There are conversations that even our government can have, but those conversations are not happening. There is not consent.
Guys, I just want to point out, listen, this is the only section of the call I'm probably going to agree with more than I disagree. I do think that this person is like, they're not saying anything I disagree with, but like the thing I want people to understand is, do you know how we end up in forever wars in the fucking Middle East? When conservatives and Republicans lie to people and say, everyone wants us over there, everyone everyone's really happy about it. But it turns out, no, everyone doesn't want us over there. And no, everyone's not really happy about it. And there's a variety of voices inside the country that are all going to be bickering and fighting. And there's going to be whole factions working against us. And then bada bing, bada boom, we're over in the fucking Middle East for another 20 fucking years to fight Israel's fucking war using American dollars and American lives. No, everyone is not happy about it.
Anti-war, we're talking about justice for survivors or things like that, because all of those things are bound in consent and autonomy. Like if I don't have control over my body, safety in my home, safety in my community, safety in my country, and everybody else has those same things too, we're only as safe, we're only as secure as the least of us. And for me, that's how all of these points tie together. And I feel like I have two other speakers, and I know I'm pressed for time, but I would love to think about a study session or doing a deeper dive in here, because I know that folks are really eager to figure out how, in what ways feminists, here can support, feminists there and women doing work around women's rights, by first understanding the complexity of the situation and doing no harm in the discourse. So yeah, are there any thoughts that you have to wrap up around like International Women's Day or the moment that we're in, or like the need that we're facing before we transition to the next topic?
Sure. I mean, I work more in the media and analysis space, so I'm trying to sort of step out of that and look at this more from your view or a bird's eye view. I think the anti-war movements in general, women's movements for peace in particular, really matter. Sometimes it feels hopeless. Sometimes it feels like you're just banging on a wall. But I mean, look at the vote in the US Senate last night. It was very close. It was very close. Democrats, all of them voted along the party line except for one senator, Fetterman, which was expected, but still. And Rand Paul from the Republican side voted with this side. Yes, they don't have the majority, but honestly, it was very close. If we compare it to, for example, Iraq and Afghanistan, there's a difference. There are some lessons learned from the past. And also, I think these votes yesterday and today was also pretty close. Mm-hmm. Yesterday and today, they don't necessarily translate into consent from Congress for a war that has already started.
Right.
And the other thing I want to add here, maybe wrap with this, is just like you were saying, that this president ran on a campaign of ending wars and making peace, and he's been boasting about it. The new narrative I heard today was that we actually didn't start the war. We did a military operation, and then it was the Iranians and their retaliation who started the war. And this goes to your point also on the attack on truth, on what you just heard that you basically didn't hear. And it also goes to that reasoning for a preemptive strike. They keep trying to somehow provide this like manufactured legal framework that this was a preemptive strike. And when you listen to the reasoning is that we knew that Israel was going to attack Iran, and then Iranians would retaliate against that attack. And so therefore we went in when we did what we want to call a preemptive strike, which by no means is the definition of a preemptive strike. But I think there's a lot of awareness now for why this is wrong. And there's a lot of pushback, and I would say advocacy and all of these movements do have an impact. They do provide political space for leaders to push back, and then eventually maybe can change the course of this. I think it's still not too late for the escalation, for him to take a win, call this a victory. It's a decapitation, it's a change in the top of the regime, and then just move towards the escalation and end this regional conflict that is really impacting civilians in not one or two countries, but in over a dozen across the region.
Yes, it is not. I mean, I know we're talking about it in the shorthand of Iran now, but it is not that. It is absolutely a regional war. Yeah. I thank you so much for being on. I wanted to say while you were talking, I just couldn't get that quote out of my mind, that quote from 1984, where the final command in the book 1984 is to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. And this to me feels so salient, because it's like the whole premise of MAGA in the campaign was about not waging war and protecting women and justice for survivors. And there was the Epstein files were on Pam Bondi's desk, and they were going to be released. And here we are today with these demands that we have for International Women's Day, calling for those, promises to be kept. And what we've come to, to realize is that, I guess what most of us knew is that, we are the MAGA regime is responding back to us with the demand to not believe what our eyes and ears are saying. So thank you so much for joining us again. I would love to stay in touch as we can maybe think about a study session or ways in which, we can broaden in the solidarity work between in that region and American feminists here. But thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation. Thanks for your great work, and I'm happy to be in touch and do more collaborations in the future.
Thank you. I would love to, we're gonna bring Erica England from Organized Power and Action to the stage, and I'm so interested to hear what Erica has to say about consent and women in feminism and the connections of this moment. Erica, I see you're here from Raleigh. Are you coming in hot from Raleigh, from North Carolina?
Yes, we come in hot from Raleigh. Or I think recently it was called Raleigh by someone online, but no, it's Raleigh.
That's the straight mouth, straight eyes emoji. Not really. I am from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The creative ways in which that is butchered on the regular is a lot. But yeah, I wonder if you can, the tech people were on the spot with getting you onto this. So I'm wondering if you could talk about just a real quick what Organized Power Numbers does so that people could know what you're up to on a daily basis. And then what is your thought on this, obviously this non-consensual act of occupation of American cities by a in my opinion, an illegal and masked militia?
I am old enough to remember when the Twin Towers fell. I'm remembering back to, what year was that?
2001.
I was in the 5th grade, and I remember coming back from lunch and just by being confused on what was going on, and
Okay, can we just talk for a moment while she's talking about 9/11? She was in the 5th grade. I was a junior in college on 9/11. I am at least 15 years older than her, and yet she looks older than me. And I just want to take a moment to celebrate that, like Skincare W.
Overwhelmingly majority of folks do not want this. So my thoughts and prayers are with everyone who is under an oppressive regime, which includes myself.
I'm 29. Exactly.
What is interesting to me around all of these different pieces, where we're talking about Epstein is where MAGA breaks with Trump the most, but ICE is very close. And so when we're thinking about, all of these pieces that are deeply unpopular with the American people, whether it's war, also 1 in 4 Americans is in support of
29.
The war on Iran that is now spiraled into a regional war. I think there's a real question of how do we, I think sometimes on the left, we make a mistake of thinking that we don't have to be popular. Like, we can have these ideas and we're just right. Our ideas are better, and so we're just right. And I think that MAGA has found ways to be popular in ways, in some ways by hitching its fascist wagon onto populist ideas and conditions. For example, the economy has been a big one, but it's not popular now. So what does that mean? In terms of organizing opportunities, what does that mean? As we demand that ICE retracts from these cities, and as we're looking towards International Women's Day, what are the opportunity for women and feminists, but also what is the mandate for women and feminists in this moment to be on the right side of history?
Yeah, so I'm gonna speak a little bit. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about something that is coming up beyond International Women's Day. And also, again, thank you for having Open. I'm representing Open tonight on this call. And for the leadership that so many folks have been showing, defending our communities and our democracy. And we're organizing right now towards Mayday, which is Friday, May the 1st of this year, it's May 1st every year. We are organizing around a simple declaration, which is workers over billionaires.
Listen, this is important.
So right now, we're living through a moment where the rules that we're supposed to use to protect working people, they're being broken every day, and it doesn't seem like this administration is shy about breaking rules, as we've seen, and not even just the last couple of days, but in his past administration as well. But with that, billionaires are concentrating large swaths of wealth, unimaginable wealth, while working families are struggling with rent, with food, with paying for healthcare and childcare, things that they ran on, and I knew they were not going to follow through on, as we can see with what's going on right now. And the same forces that are attacking workers' rights are also attacking women and immigrants and democracy itself. Women work all over the world. But women are the ones holding up the economy. Immigrant women are holding up our economy. And those forces that are attacking one of us, they're attacking all of us. So Mayday this year is about something bigger than a single protest. We are drawing a line in the sand together, and we're daring someone to cross it. We're refusing business as usual and talking about how Mayday has been a day when workers around the world step into collective action. So for us, this is an entryway for millions of people to join us in building towards a future that's long-term, that prioritizes all workers over billionaires and corporate greed. And I would say that corporate greed is one of the reasons that we get into war in the first place. And this year we're organizing rallies.
Capitalism means war.
We're organizing marches, teach-ins, walkouts, and mass participation actions across the country. Because really, the change that we need has never come from just voting harder. And not saying you shouldn't vote, because everyone should.
Exactly. And most important election of our lives every time. And it's been true. Like, it's been true.
Yes, every single time it's the most important election of our lives, and this one coming up also feels that way.
Will also be the same way, yeah. But you know, until we build the kind of power that you're talking about, though, that'll be the conditions every single time we vote. Anything that we do will be the most important thing that we've done it, because we will be living by our fingernails, you know, trying to keep safe and upright in conditions that are hostile, hostile to us.
And even then, we never get full participation with voting either. So it's everything. We have to keep pulling people in. So we know it's not just voting, but in all aspects of movement building and advocacy, we have to keep pulling people into these movements, and make one more phone call, text one more person, show up to one more event, knock on one more door. It's all of it.
The piece that I also wanted to pull out that I think is so important about what you just said too, is that, when we're talking about Epstein survivors, we're talking about survivors. When we talk about war made on women and children or things like that, we talk about the impacts of it, and which I think we should do that. Obviously, we need to think about the people who are most impacted by the action, but that obfuscates the actor. That obfuscates the person who's initiating it, the initiator. So when we're talking about the war that disproportionately impacts women and children, when we're talking about occupation of ICE in our streets, when we're talking about billionaires hoarding, amounts of wealth so large that we literally can't comprehend it in our minds, we are also talking about largely men, actions that impact people who are poor, working class, many of whom are women in single, working as heads of households, and raising families. And so I think it's really important that you you all are crafting the who, of the beginning that we kind of need to be clearer on as a movement, I think, in order to really be effective in our advocacy.
Yeah. We have to put a microscope on the who, magnifying glass on the who, because there are folks that are pulling the puppet strings, if you will. And so every time there's abuse of power, that has stopped this country, whether it's winning more labor rights, civil rights, protections for women, bodily autonomy for women. It's happened because workers and communities move together in collective action, and they don't want that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think we see that. I mean, we've seen that a number of times in movements when there's been a lot of organized opposition to movements, has been particularly when we begin to organize over, across race, place, geography, and when that worker power begins to get harnessed.
Yeah. So on Mayday, we're raising 3 core demands that's connecting our struggles, and this is all across the country. So we're asking folks to join us in texting solidarity to 58910. And the 3 core demands that we are connecting to our struggles is, first, to tax the rich. Our families should come before billionaire fortunes. I don't want to see another yacht, their 6th, 8th, 15th yacht that you are buying. I want families, everyday working families, working women that are supporting their families to be taken care of. Working people are the ones that create the wealth in the society, and we deserve an economy that works for all of us and not just the ones at the top 1%.
Absolutely. And let me ask you this. I know we've got International Women's Day. Probably some people are thinking ahead to No Kings on March 28th. We're going to be supporting with that. But we would love to have Mayday Strong on again to talk about this after that, so that we can really load in. We're a proud sponsor and partner of Mayday Strong, and we would love to bring a deeper conversation of this and maybe even some working groups to our base if you all will join us again.
That would be great. Our last 2 demands is, number 2, ICE out. We cannot allow immigration enforcement to continue to function as a private army and using their authoritarian power, terrorizing immigrant communities and workers. I'm here in North Carolina. It was just a couple of months ago when they were ripping through my community out in Charlotte, out in the Raleigh-Durham area as well, and surrounding areas. And women, the community at large, showed up and were protecting each other. And that's what it's going to take to fight back. ICE has been operating as a deportation force that tears families apart. It targets immigrant workers, and that really harms workplace organizing, because workers are immigrants, immigrants are workers as well. And when workers are fearing raids or detention, it drives down wages, and it makes it easier for employers to exploit everyone. And our 3rd demand is to expand democracy, not corporate rule. We see that billionaires are trying to buy our politics. The amount of money that they pump into these campaigns to continue to rule over us in an authoritarian regime, that's controlling our futures. They're trying to buy our politics and trying to control our futures. We believe that democracy should belong to the people. So one of the things that we're asking people to do is to join us for a refusal of business as usual on Mayday. That means no work, no school, and no shopping. So that's something that everybody can participate in some way. And we do understand that maybe not everyone can participate, but there are options of ways that you can fight back on Mayday. So again, we're asking folks to join us and start building power with us. Text solidarity to 58910. Again, that's solidarity, all caps, to 58910. And so once you do that, you'll be signed on to take our pledge. And then there's also a May 1st commitment pledge. And It's workers.fyi/commit.
And all of this will also go out in a follow-up email for folks who signed up and RSVP to this call. Thank you, Erica, so much for joining us. And I think we'll see you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And shout out to our folks at Mayday Strong who are really working and have provided a lot of support to, particularly for cities, Minneapolis and other cities who have been really under siege with the ICE occupation. And so it behooves me to, to shout out that work. A lot of folks don't like to shout out their own work, but the Women's March and Mayday Strong certainly are aligned on our demand, both for International Women's Day and May Day, around ICE out of cities and ultimately moving towards the road to ending ICE as an institution. I am old enough to remember when ICE was not in existence, and I think we need a time in which that is the truth again, because I'm also old enough to have watched Star Wars, and I know a stormtrooper when I see one. And so I don't think that we can, improve the the interactions of stormtroopers with our communities by adding body cams or more training. It's just an institution that doesn't serve democracy. And so when we're thinking about ways in which we keep ourselves safe, I am fairly certain that militarized presence inside of our cities does not move us down to that road. So that is part of why it's our demand. And we are focused on that, about the ways in which that has impacted women and families, and we'll continue to fight for that as time goes on. And the last connection that we have for International Women's Day is thinking through what when we're thinking about International Women's Day and we're thinking about experiences of women from across the globe, what is one thing that too many of us have experience with, and that is sexual assault, being like with rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment. And it seems it's very difficult to, when we were thinking about the demands for International Women's Day, it felt difficult to not talk about Epstein related to the cover-up that's happening with the United States government.
Yeah,
given that it was such a part of what they promised people. And granted, I don't, really think, I never really thought very much that this administration was interested in keeping its promises to people like me, but I did think that it would have a little bit more commitment to keeping its promise to its own base. It's in its interest to do so. The Epstein files is where the MAGA base splits from Trump the most. 17% of MAGA believe that the Epstein files and situation is being handled well. And I think it's really important for us to really think about the power behind it. When, as feminists, we need to interrogate power structures and not just situations. And so what the Epstein files and the Epstein cases revealed is a network of power that enables abuse for years. And it really demonstrates the ways in which systems, legal, political, cultural, have historically failed women and girls. And we see that in different iterations here when we're talking about ICE, or we're talking about the impact of war on women. And a lot of people think of that these are single issues, or that Epstein himself was a single predator, but survivors and advocates have always been really clear. He didn't operate alone. No men who abuse power operate alone. And accountability for folks like that is super critical, because when institutions delay transparency or shield powerful people from scrutiny, it sends it creates an authorizing environment for the action to continue. And so we continue to push for the full release of the Epstein files. We want to think about what does justice look like for the survivors, and why does sustained pressure matter? And so we're going to continue to ask those questions and press for accountability for the predators, justice for the survivors. And for Women's March, we're going to be doing that right at the belly of the beast this weekend at Zorro Ranch, which is was Jeffrey Epstein's U.S. base of operations here in New Mexico, right outside of Albuquerque. And so to talk about that with me, I'm very happy to bring Samia Asad
just let me do whatever I want. It's all good.
The live with me. Samia has been Women's March True Blue Day One for many years, has been organizing in New Mexico around many issues, including democracy reform, pro-Palestine issues, issues around Indigenous women, murdered and missing Indigenous women, women of color, feminists, you name it. Samia has been there through it all. And so she's here to talk a little bit about the who, what, where, when, why. I can support a little bit with the details, but Samia, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about why, because you would call me like a while ago and we're like, we have to take action on Zorro Ranch. We have to take action. And so could you tell us about why that felt like so urgent for you and how that kind of got us to this moment?
Yes, thanks, Rachel. Thanks for having me on International Women's Day, which is an extremely important day and a weekend to recognize women across the world. And, you know, here we are in Albuquerque, New Mexico, one of the beautiful cities in the country. If we could sell our weather, we could all be millionaires. But the bottom line is, like you said, Zorro Ranch was not too far from where I live. It's 50 minutes away from where I live on the way to Santa Fe. And it is in the heart of the community. And knowing New Mexico politics and all the struggles and all the issues we try to address throughout the decades-long work of addressing human rights and women's rights issues, to have Zorro Ranch in the center of it meant that we, on this International Women's Day, like you said, I urge you, we need to take it to the belly of the beast. You're absolutely right. This is empire at its worst. It is meant for us to really center the victims and the survivors on the ground. You cannot beat the actual the feeling of being on the ground. I mean, it's not something that's so far away. It's in our midst, and it's very hard to comprehend for us as New Mexicans and as Americans. But I also understand, and we also, as Women's March, understand the responsibility that lays on our shoulders to make sure to center all the women here in the Southwest and across the country, of course. So yes, it was really important for us to bring it, and we want to make sure our presence as activists, as legislators, as community organizers, as community in large, as feminists, of course, grassroots feminists, as we want to make sure we hold people accountable. We will not out till everything. I mean, this is the history of New Mexico women. We don't let down, because New Mexico has traditionally been known as a sacrifice zone. And it's been a sexual violence and torment sacrifice zone. We're going to say no to that. We're not going to accept it anymore. So yes, we deserve truth. We deserve justice. The survivors deserve truth, and they deserve not for us not to be silent on this. Our side, the most powerful evil entity that existed on this ranch, and those who were co-conspirators, by silence, we by truth. We're going to uncover, peel, layer by layer, the truth of what happened. And our job is to not just bring an awareness, of course, to all the efforts happening with the legislatures, to also have an action to demand that they see through this investigation and it's not covered up, that we help Attorney General Raul Torres to reopen the investigation. Hector Valderas, Attorney General Hector Valderas, opened it up in 2019, and the Department of Justice closed it down. Of course, they took the files. So, you know, and now you have the legislators, two brave young women from here from New Mexico, who are leading alongside. It's a bipartisan commission, and the two young women who spearheaded the resolution to commission are very brave, and we want to make sure they are successful in every effort they do on the ground.
I am completely
and we're not going to go away. We will be holding everybody accountable. So what we're doing here with Women's March is we're putting on a caravan that will head from Albuquerque.
In fact, we already know this woman's protesting Epstein and all that stuff. In fact, I just want to take this opportunity to say this. Since Stacey and Ottoman are having such a good chat, Listen, I think it's important that everyone know that I'm completely innocent and all I'm doing is listening. And in fact, I think more leftist organizations should just invite me to listen to their calls because I'm gonna do it anyway. And every time they whine and complain about it, I end up going viral on the internet. And so I think leftist organizations should actually be thanking me. I have increased the reach of the Women's March call tonight. And if they were really so confident in their ideas, they would have no problem with me watching their stuff and streaming their stuff. It's all public information anyway. So enough with the fucking crying of the socialists over in their chat about me. Like, let's just like be like, I'm innocent. I don't do anything. No one listens to me anyway. I never go viral on the internet. And so all leftist groups should basically invite me to all their calls so they can be a little bit more above board about what's going on.
God knows we're all going to need a lot of good energy to go to this location. It's
Olympia afterwards.
Olympia, sure. A lot of healing, a lot of sage, a lot of you name it. And but we need to make sure that we leave empowered, not distressed, because places like this will have your heart, in your and it's gonna bother us for sure. But here, make sure we follow through. This action is not just about a place or a moment. It is making sure that the truth about what happened never quietly is buried. Like I said, we're going to dig out every truth there ever is, and open. All of you will be able to join us and remind those most powerful in communities that we're here to demand accountability, and we're here to stay no matter how long it takes for it to come out.
Mm-hmm. You and I always talk about, or we have talked a lot about, like a lot of women
don't tell them
never, we didn't dream as kids of like, one day I'm going to be leading a protest to Zorro Ranch, we just raised our hand when there was work to do. And that just really reminds me of the legislators and all the people who are really seeing through the, the truth and reconciliation process here around Zorro Ranch, because New Mexico is really an example of leadership in this moment as honestly, the disgraceful cover up of, the Epstein files that honestly at this point should be the Epstein trials. Like if we think about
it really should be
other presidents who have had similar types of allegations. There were special prosecutors named. There were processes, like there was an inquiry and to bring people in who were tangential to the files and not the people who are named themselves, just demonstrates that there is real commitment to continuing the MAGA circus, but not actually having any accountability. So I am very clear. I'm very clear on, what we're trying to do for International Women's Day. And I did see some of the comments saying, oh, we don't like that, you're framing this with consent and with respect, with deep respect for everybody's different experiences. I really do feel like consent is so central to what we're talking about when we're talking about wars and we're talking about the manufacture of consent. The idea of propaganda comes from the idea of manufacturing consent. When we're talking about consent related to young girls who were in a situation that they were too young even to legally consent to, when we're talking about ICE, in cities who are actively trying to push them out, I think consent is absolutely central to what we're talking about doing. So I would have to respectfully disagree. And I would say that when we're thinking about, pushing on all of these issues, we're talking about accountability for justice, or accountability and justice for survivors. We're talking about ICE out of cities, and we're talking about, no war in Iran. We're talking about the idea of centering consent and making sure that we all are allowed to have an active participation and have agency inside of a democracy that that reflects our stated values as a country, and also what we voted for. Certainly, there are some of us who did not vote for any of this, but even those who voted for this, they are these three policies are incredibly unpopular with their base, and that's not just my opinion. SpyStream, shout out to SpyStream. We've got some of those folks on here right now. Shout out out to for driving up our numbers and for making our streams
You're welcome.
have more engagement. But there are people on this call right now who don't agree with us. And I'm actually fine with that, because I think that the discourse that is necessary in this country is for us to be in conversation with folks who don't agree. But we know that we are in fact the majority. On the issue of Epstein, we are the majority. On the issue of ICE, we are the majority. And it doesn't matter bipartisan, like this is not about who you voted for. It's not about your political profile. It's not about what bumper sticker you have on the back of your car.
You dumb bitches.
You know, I have a fundamental belief. In order to, some people are in the comments like, get a job. Like, this is our job. This is our job. And my job is to believe that there's more that unites us than divides us. And so whether we're talking about the Women's March people in the comments or the Spy Stream people over there, I don't think that people are waking up and saying, I want to have, I want pedophiles to run free. I want to rain bombs down on people with my taxpayer dollars, and I want my cities occupied and the sovereignty of my state violated by the federal government. I don't believe that. Maybe that's true for some of you, but I don't believe it. And so I think it's important for us to get back to that place where we can be inside of a democratic discourse with each other again.
Don't listen to people.
I know I've left 3 minutes for Q&A. We can take some Q&A here. Can our tech people help us? Are there questions?
We are anti-war.
That we're seeing repeated in the Q&A?
They just assume we don't agree
with
them.
I hope your audience is active and proactive and takes action, because the world is asking us. Every child that was kidnapped and disappeared, and every woman, every young girl is demanding justice. Every mother that's been blown apart in a war that's unnecessary.
We hate Trump feminists.
Children, families that have been separated.
Open your ears and listen.
That do not agree with us. I hope Americans rise up to represent their most moral and just values. And it's extremely important for us to come united on this.
I agree. And how you can find out, there's a question here. Is there a list of events with times? I do not do Instagram. And I didn't see anything on Mobilize. You can find that on bravewomen.us, and you can find the events on the map that's at the top.
Yeah,
and
we are
you can even still host one if you want, or you can go to one. And I believe there are online ones as well. Is it true that the state, New Mexico, is starting to search for buried Epstein victims on the property or surrounding BLM land?
I don't know if it's already started, but I think that some of the commissioners have asked for that.
I saw that as well.
Yeah.
I think some of it has been searched, but I think there's a question of because there's public land that abuts it, I think. But you know what? We will try to have an explainer for Zoro Ranch that goes out as a follow-on to this. So
that was fucking great.
We'll actually dig into that. That's a good question about what has happened and what will happen related to the property itself.
And Rachel, Zoro's the commission will last till the end of 2026. We're going to be going back to find answers and holding people for sure. We'll update people.
Yeah, we've heard from folks from Colorado and New Mexico, Arizona who are coming through, so we know that this is of interest regionally. And can you obtain a bus ticket for the 8th? Everything that you need to know is on bravewomen.us. And so if you go there and then you go to the Albuquerque specific location, you go click there and everything will be there exactly. bravewomen.us/New Mexico. I'm in my groove now. Keep them rolling. That's it. That's all we have. They're like, you're at time, lady. You needed more time. We will put this. There was one more. What's the best way? What's the best way to get the word out for Los Angeles? I'm an organizer. You're gonna be shocked. Get ready. bravewomen.us. When you put your event on that map, we then send emails and texts and even digital outreach via ads to all of the people who are on our list that send people to that map. So we were able to build our decentralized network. And then our decentralized network goes inside of the other organizations. Like most people are members of League of Women's Voters and Women's March people, Indivisible people and Women's March people. And so we are here to strengthen up our skills for women to operate inside of the networks that we live and love in every day. So every way to find or get or give information will all be on bravewomen.us. Why is there not a major national march called for in Washington, D.C.? The whole world is waiting for us.
That's a good question.
So we can do a march. We and have done marches. We are organizing direct actions for this action, particularly because we want to build a tool set for that we practice. We are collaborating with No Kings. We're partners for those big marches. And so we want to make sure to be helpful in building our base to be able to have a broader skill set, a broader tool set, so that we're thinking about non-cooperation. We're thinking about doing direct actions. We're thinking about doing caravans or art outreach or things like that. And so we're really trying to.
These are more progressive types. That's a good question. These are not DSA types. These are not, well, sometimes they are, but like these are definitely not revolutionary socialists and communists. They're really more progressives.
You're with your kids. You're not there with your grandkids. You're not spending time with your dog or in your garden or knitting or whatever it is that you do.
Knitting!
And so we want to be creating a cadence of actions in a way that makes sense for people's lives. So those are the big reasons, but a big march is not off the table. We're 3 minutes over. Any additional questions, you can head over to Women's March socials, and when we see anything that rises to the top there, we'll go on ahead and answer that. We're going to send a follow-up email with all of this information to everybody who is RSVP'd for the call. And the best way to get involved is to just be on our mailing list. We email and we text regularly about different training opportunities and different mobilization opportunities. And social media is another way. You won't miss us online. We are all over the place. We're hard to miss. So thank you all so much for this call. We will see you next time. We will see you hopefully this Sunday, and we will see you at our next mass call. And that will all information will be included in the follow-up email.
Yep. We'll see
4 minutes over. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, that was not your typical spy stream. I have to be honest. That was just not your typical spy stream. If this is your first interaction with spy stream, I'm going to encourage you to come to another spy stream sometime, because that was just not the typical spy stream at all, because apparently their entire chat was talking about me the entire fucking time. And this is why I tell people, do not go over to their chat. Do not antagonize them. But we always have conservative retards that are watching my channel that are trying to sabotage all my work, that were over there in the chat talking about me. And so the entire thing basically became about me, again, whatever. But listen, Women's March, just to be very clear, in case you didn't suss it out with me shouting over the damn spy stream, we agree with you on Iran, and we agree with you on Epstein. Where we are going to diverge from you is with all the anti-ICE bullshit. We do not agree with that. We do not agree with overthrowing capitalism. We do not agree with seizing private property. We don't agree with riots and destruction and fires and Antifa and all of this stuff. But if you guys want to work together on anti-war stuff, we agree with you. We do not like Trump. We do not support Trump. We do not like Bibi Netanyahu. We do not like Israel. We believe that Trump is in a war on behalf of Israel, sending Americans to die for fucking Israel. And we think that's fucking stupid. And we happen to think that being anti-war is probably one of the greatest, most important issues of our time. So if you want to put our differences aside and all be anti-war together, we are completely fucking on board with that. We can stop arguing about you guys trying to overthrow capitalism and take all our fucking stuff. And we can actually focus on something that matters. And on the Epstein stuff, we agree with you on that as well. Expose them all. Where are the fucking trials? Where are the people getting put in jail? We agree with you on that. And I told everyone, don't go over to that chat and cause them problems. I was very clear at the beginning of the stream. So You let us know, Women's March. Hey, like, but I will say, I did actually appreciate the shout out. It was very nice of them to acknowledge us. You know, we so rarely get acknowledged like that, and that was pretty great. It's always nice to be seen, and I appreciate that. So the biggest thing that you guys need to know is there is going to be some sort of International Women's Day march coming up. I think it's on Sunday, right? It's on Sunday. Let me get my fucking calendar like an adult. I have to have a fucking planner and all this shit. Let me see. What day is it? What day even is it? What day even is it? It's supposed to be on Sunday. So there's going to be some sort of like International Women's March on Sunday. I don't know how large it's going to be, if I'm honest. I think the next big event that we're looking at is really the No Kings protest on March 28th. But like the Women's March is going to be involved in the No Kings protest and stuff like that. And so so it is important that we listen to their organizing calls. It is important that we keep up with where their priorities are. But it is like we find ourselves in an awkward position right now because we don't agree with these people on many things. But where we do align is with the anti-war stuff and with the anti-Epstein stuff. And I really just don't have any criticism for them there. I really just don't. Listen, a broken clock is right twice a day. And I think that I do think, and I agree with Nick Fuentes on this point, if someone is anti-war, we need to, and anti-Israel and wants to get Israeli influence out of our fucking country, then I would be supportive of putting our other differences aside and working on that issue, because I do think that is the big tangential issue of our time. And I think that that's something that's going to ultimately fuck us all over. So I think that if they want to put our differences aside and work on those things, I am completely in favor of that. You're going to a Zine Fest on No King's Day. I'm going to be launching a class, guys, and I'm going to have more information about this either hopefully tomorrow, but at the latest on Saturday for Socialism Saturday. I'm going to be launching a class about this specifically. I want a whole bunch of people to go to the No Kings event near them and to keep an eye out for the far left and to see what propaganda is being distributed and what zines are being distributed and stuff like that. So in the next couple weeks, I'm going to be teaching people exactly and explicitly how to do this so that on the next No Kings Day, which is March 28th of this month, coming up a couple weeks, they expect 9 million people to be out protesting. It's going to be a very, very, very large national protest. And I want to have an army of people out there going to all the No Kings events, not necessarily because I'm worried about No Kings and not necessarily, oh my God, we got a conservative retard. This channel is pro-Islam. No, dude. What we are is anti-retard. And I'm very sorry, you don't pass the IQ test to be on my channel. We are anti-retard on this channel. We gatekeep this community of retards. If you think I'm pro-Islam, you're not fucking smart enough to be here. Oh, no. Don't make me ban you, bro. Don't make me ban you, because I'm voting for the Democrats too. So if you think Nick Fuentes is stupid, I'm voting for the Democrats for the same fucking reason. So no, we are Nick Fuentes respecters on this channel. Like, literally fuck off with that shit. But I will be launching a program to train people how to like go undercover with the left. Not necessarily that No King's Day is going undercover, but it's like a practice run. It's like an easy practice run. And I want to show people what to look for in terms of stickering, propaganda, flyers, zines, all that stuff. And then what I want to do is I want to create a mass army of people that are going to No Kings events all over the country in order to tell us what's going on and what groups are there, what propaganda is being handed out and stuff like that. So that is going to be coming up hopefully tomorrow, Saturday at the latest. And I will give you more information then about that. And we're going to be a little fucking undercover army. And that's going to be the way it is. Thank you so much to everyone who gave gifted channel memberships or sent super chats in today. I really appreciate you guys. We welcomed 142 new members of the channel, and that's fucking awesome. Really, really great day. I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. where we're going to do happy hour. Happy hours are usually a little bit lighter day, and we're going to catch up on that Candace content. We started watching Candace content on Monday. We had to stop because there was actually important things to cover. We are going to continue with our Candace watch party for happy hour tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing everyone then. Thank you guys for allowing me to do what I do. I hope you enjoyed our spy stream for tonight. There will be more spy streams coming up soon, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you mounted the like button, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow, okay? That's it. Take care, guys. We'll see you soon.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you here?
That's difficult to answer.
Would you give me some idea?
I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that?
People dislike me because I am not completely like them. I am trying to do with my life something which few people try to do, and this influences my thinking and consequently my action.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.